Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the fourth film in our April in Paris collection, Moulin Rouge, from 1951, directed by the great American director John Huston, with José Ferrer as Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec and Raja Gabor as Jean Avril. This film chronicles the later years of the great French painter Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec, 1864 to 1901. As he frequents the dance hall, the Moulin Rouge, reveling in the bohemian lifestyle of its performers and patrons. Huston co-wrote the screenplay with André Veillet, based on a 1950 novel by Pierre Lamour. The director shot the film in 3-strip Technicolor in order to allow the cinematographer Oswald Morris to produce a softer, more subtle palette than that which glorious Technicolor was known for at the time. Huston wanted the film to look as though Toulouse-Lautrec had directed it himself. The great photographer Elliot Elisaphan was credited on the film as a special color consultant. The film was shot on location in London and Paris and in Shepperton Studios, Shepperton, Surrey, England. The music was composed by Georges Auric, the French composer who provided the music for the Lavender Hill Bob, shown in our festival a few weeks ago. Auric wrote the song, It's April Again, especially for this movie. The lovely period costumes were designed by the famous couturier Elsa Schiaparelli. Ferrer received 40% of the film's proceeds and other rights. This deal became controversial and led to a U.S. Second Circuit Court tax case, Commissioner of the IRS versus Ferrer, 1962, in which Ferrer claimed to have been taxed unfairly. Moulin Rouge did well financially and received many accolades, including for Oscar nominations for Best Picture, Best Actor for Ferrer, Best Art Direction, and Best Costume Design, and won the latter two. José Ferrer, 1912 to 92, was a Puerto Rican actor and director who won both a Tony for the role of Cyrano de Bergerac on Broadway in 1947 and an Oscar for Best Actor for the same version of Cyrano, 1950. Ferrer was a graduate of Princeton University, class of 1934. He was the first Puerto Rican actor to win an Oscar for Best Actor, had a long and successful career as a stage and film actor, finally retiring in 1991. He was married 4 times. His third wife was Rosemary Clooney, making him George Clooney's uncle. Raja Gabor, from 1917 to 2016, was a Hungarian-American actress and socialite who was born in Budapest, where she was named Miss Hungary in 1936. In 1941, she emigrated to the U.S. to pursue an acting career. She played one of her few leading roles as Jean Avril in this movie, in a performance that John Huston later described as creditable. Gabor was known for her glamorous personality, her extravagant Hollywood lifestyle, and her 9 marriages, including to Conrad Hilton Sr. and George Sanders. 7 of these marriages ended in divorce, inspiring her famous quip, "I am a marvelous housekeeper. Every time I leave a man, I keep his house." On January 25, 2009, the Associated Press reported that she may have lost as much as $10 million in Bernie Madoff's Ponzi scheme. By the time she passed away at age 99, she had appeared in more than 40 films and dozens of TV shows. John Huston, 1906 to 87, was a distinguished American filmmaker, screenwriter, actor, and visual artist who wrote the screenplays for 37 movies which he directed. For each film he directed, he sketched every scene beforehand, then carefully framed his characters during shooting. Because Huston created his films while shooting them, little editing was required. He has been described as cinema's Ernest Hemingway and a Renaissance man. His father, Walter Huston, was an actor in his own right, and inspired John to study acting too. In his early years, John published many short stories and articles in publications like the New York Times and Esquire. As the 1930s came to an end, talkies had replaced silent films, leading to a need for more writers, and so the die was cast. Huston's directorial debut came with 1941's The Maltese Falcon, to this day considered one of the greatest film noir thrillers ever made. He was the oldest person at age 79 to be nominated for a Best Director Oscar for Prizzi's honor in 1981. Plot summary. Moulin Rouge is the story of the great French painter Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec, who immortalized the bohemian denizens of the Moulin Rouge dance hall of the 1890s in paint. Lautrec was born into an aristocratic French family. When he was a young boy, he suffered a terrible fall which caused his legs to be severely stunted and ultimately his stature to be diminished. His disability was a source of much grief and pain for the boy, and he grew up to be a lonely, embittered young man who was unlucky in love. Although he struggled with alcohol in his attempts to dull his pain, he managed to overcome his disability enough to create unforgettable portraits of his cabaret companions. As his condition worsened, he returned to his family's chateau, where his father told him that he was to become the first French living artist to have his work shown at the Louvre. He died at his ancestral home at the age of 37. Fun facts about the movie. This movie and its 2001 remake both received the Oscars for Best Costume Design and Best Art Direction. Ferrer was transformed into the short Toulouse-Lautrec through a clever mix of camera angles, makeup, costume design, concealed pits and platforms, and short body doubles. He designed a set of knee pads which allowed him to walk on his knees, thus simulating Lautrec's short stature, but they were very painful and he could not wear them for very long. Critics praised him for his devotion to authenticity. He was 40 years old when he portrayed Lautrec in this film. He actually played two roles, that of Henri and his father, Alphonse. Artist Marcel Vertès paid part of his art school tuition by forging and selling Lautrec posters. It is his hand which is seen sketching Lautrec drawings under the opening credits. Although the Technicolor lab people hated the muted colors that Huston wanted, the inventor of the Technicolor process, Harold T. Kalman, said after the movie's release that Moulin Rouge was his personal favorite film. Much of the cinematography was meant to resemble Lautrec's poster art, as were many costumes and much of the character makeup. Toward the end of the film, Lautrec says, "They say men kill the thing they love the most." This is a reference to Oscar Wilde's The Ballad of Reading Gaol, published in 1898. The historical Lautrec actually befriended Wilde and drew his portrait several times. Zsa Zsa Gabor's singing voice was dubbed by Muriel Smith. Picasso was so taken with this movie that he rented a hotel room with a window just above the places where some of its scenes were shot, so he could watch the shoot in progress. Things to look for. Subtly colored cinematography, lovely costumes and makeup, wonderful dance routines and music. The song It's April Again, scenes of the denizens of the Moulin Rouge morphing into Lautrec drawings and paintings, appearances by other major artists, Ferrer's stature and locomotion. The Oscar Wilde quote, Marcel Vertès' hand-drawing Lautrec posters under the beginning credits. Now, folks, it's time for Moulin Rouge to roll. Sit back with drinks and a snack, and the film will be appearing shortly. Enjoy.